Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back again. I am so glad to have you here. I hope so far you are enjoying the content that we are putting out for 2023, and I cannot wait to actually take you through the 52 weeks that we'll be having this year. So going right into my video, this video is going to be short and sweet. I mean, it's just going to go straight to the point, because this is something that many people have been looking to learn about, and I hope that what I share here will be able to help you. So today we're just going to talk about emergency fund. What is an emergency fund? How to build an emergency fund? Like, where do you begin? So an emergency fund is money that you set aside to cushion you in case of an emergency, I would say. Or if you are planning to, like, say for those of us who are working, if you're planning to maybe quit employment, that money that you set aside to be able to cushion you as you transition, or when a contract comes to an end. Like as I said previously, especially those who are working in NGOs or in private companies, sometimes you just have contracts because you don't know for how long the organizations are going to be running for, or for how long the projects are going to be running for. So basically, this is money that you set aside to be able to help you during emergencies, or if you have a future plan, or like you're planning yourself when your contract comes to an end, you're planning yourself in case you want to quit employment and you'll be transitioning to self-employment. I feel like those are uses that you can have for an emergency fund. Or an unforeseen circumstance. Say, for example, you have medical cover, you get unwell, that money gets depleted, and therefore now you need some extra cash. Or you experience like a person who is unwell in your family, it could be a relative, it could be a friend, and you're required to give like a bit more extra than what you had planned for. Then an emergency fund can be able to help you in such circumstances. Or for example, there's delay in maybe salary or pay or clearing of checks, or surrounding that, and you have somewhere where you can be able to go and withdraw money and continue with your expenses as kawaida. Or like even the way COVID happened and people were cut off like from their work and they were let go, or like rather they were laid off, or you get that your salary has been reduced by half. So like an emergency fund will be able to cushion you for some time. So basically, the long and short of it, like that is what an emergency fund is, and that is what it entails. So how to create your emergency fund? Number one, it has to start with a budget of the list of all your expenses. So your day-to-day expenses. So if you're paying rent or if you're on mortgage, you put that amount there. Money for the nanny. If you have children who are going to school, money for school fees, money for electricity, money for subscriptions, like basically money that you spend, expenses that you spend on a day-to-day basis, like those things that you cannot do without money for grocery shopping, all that. So once you have your expenses listed, look at the amount that they're coming to. So if they're coming to maybe 50,000 or 60,000 in a month, that is what you put as the base. So that means that for an emergency fund, essentially what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to have an equivalent of 3 to 6 months worth of money equivalent to your expenses for 6 months. So that is to say, if your expenses come to 50,000, you'll be required to save like 60,000. If your expenses come to 20,000, you need to have at least 120,000. My advice would be that have even more, because if there's one thing COVID taught us is that even when you thought you had savings, it would have been very easy for you to move to zero, because COVID went on for more than a year. So if you've been laid off, what happens? If your job has come to an end, what happens? If you had to close down your business, like especially those who are in the hotel, bar industry and all that, they had to shut down for some time, then what happens? So basically, that is how you're supposed to build up on your emergency fund. So what can you do to ensure that you start your journey to having an emergency fund? Number one, you can have like a check-off system. If you are employed, you can have a check-off system. So out of your income, you dedicate a certain percentage to going to your emergency fund, so that even before you start using your money, that already goes on the side. The other way that you can do it, if your income is not enough to be able to sustain you having an emergency fund, get an additional stream of income. It could be as simple as offering a service for people. Like maybe where you stay, you know how to bake cakes, you can start making some cakes. You can tutor children, you can start doing that tutoring, and the income that you're making from this extra stream of income, you're able to put it into your emergency fund. The other way that you can actually even increase your emergency fund, say for example you're in a circle and there's money that you're contributing, there's money that comes in as dividends. Take those dividends and add them to your emergency fund. The other way that you can be able to build on emergency funds, if you're in groups like table banking or in chamas, and you do generate interest from those groups because of the way people borrow, and you get money at the end of the year, just take that money and put it in your emergency fund. But the main and surest way is if you already have sufficient income, just use the percentage method. You can decide 20% of any income that you get goes to your emergency fund. If you're an entrepreneur, for every sale that you make, divide it. Just say that for every sale that I make, this percentage will be going to my emergency fund, and just stick to it. If you're none of this, as I have said, just work on increasing your streams of income. And luckily, the generation that we are living in, everything is in the internet. Like all the information is there. If you want to learn a new skill, you can learn and then use that to be able to generate more income for yourself. If you want to reach out to people, you can actually just start a social media platform today, and the content that you put out, the service that you offer, you can be able to post it there, and you can be able to just generate income out of it. In fact, simple thing like even like what I'm doing now, like just being able to create videos, especially if you have a lot of free time in your hands, there's so much information that you can share with people, and over time it can be able to just generate some income for you. How to ensure that you stick to the plan of having your emergency fund intact. As you're thinking about the emergency fund, shop around for accounts that can be able to support you with that. What I mean is, probably look for an account where you can be able to save that money without withdrawing it soon. Although like for an emergency fund, it's supposed to be money that you can easily access. So you can have an account where maybe they only allow you to withdraw once in 3 months or once in 6 months. Have those types of accounts for you where you can put your emergency fund, so that it is just like it is accessible, but it is not very accessible. Like you will go into it if you must go into it. Like now, a friend calls you, they're like, hey, by then next week you're going to Mombasa, nini, can you come with us? That is not an emergency because it is not a necessity. Like for instance, you have seen like there's a new maybe I would say dress, or there's an event that you want to go to and you're not planned for it. That is not an emergency, like that is something that you can do without. Even when it comes to things like fundraising, if you can already pay from the income that you have, do that so that you do not have to dip into your emergency fund unless it is absolutely necessary for you to do that. So for me, I am personally working on building my emergency fund in 2023. If you watched my video on my 2023 goals, this was among the things that I had put on the list, because I want to be very intentional on ensuring that I am cushioned should anything happen to any of my sources of income, that I will have time to adjust, to readjust, and to be able to just replan myself properly. So it is actually important for one to have an emergency fund, because it goes a long way even in giving you peace of mind. Like si ati kila saa unalala ukishtuka uko like, hey, what if this happens? Like what will happen to me? What if my job comes to an end? What will happen to me? What if my business, like I don't get clients for a whole month? What will happen to me? So just ensure that this year, by they put this as a priority, that you really want to work on ensuring that you have an emergency fund which acts sort of as a safety net for you should there be anything that happens to you. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I was very happy like creating this and just sharing this kind of knowledge, because I know in 2023 like people are looking to elevate themselves. People nowadays are just working on their finances, working on their careers, working on their businesses, and like what better way to ensure self-growth, to ensure that like you are elevating yourself more than just getting your finances in order, because that is the first place where we just get like a sense of security. So let me know if you had plans to start your emergency fund, if you're going to start after this video, also just, just let me know that this has motivated you to go out there and just start working on your emergency fund. I hope you have enjoyed this video and you've enjoyed this content, and I cannot wait to see you guys next episode with more informative information.